The first time somebody lands on your profile, they are judging you. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it just happens. So today we're going to look at these creators, the style of their grid, their business acumen, and how they brand their overall profile. And the goal of this is to get insights on how the coolest, most up-to-date professional pages and brands are doing it right now. Let's get started. Let's talk about the first person, aliabdaal. Now, I like his profile because he's a doctor that turned into an entrepreneur type personality on YouTube. And he's also a big Skillshare person, which I am as well. So we kind of bond there and we're in the same Slack channel. So aliabdaal's page. Now, on his page, the first thing that we see, his profile photo, is very bright, nicely lit, and he looks like a good, innocent, knowledgeable doctor. And I think this is his brand in that he shows that he's like that go-to feel-good type guy. So you go to his page, you see this super sharp, clear. The background has plants and stuff a few feet away from him, and he is dead set in the center. Now we'll go on the side a bit and look at his profile. He has a few lines. Doctor to entrepreneur and YouTuber with 6 million plus. Dang. And then he's also the author of Feel Good Productivity, which is the book. Books have this mass appeal of like, hey, I got a book published. I'm an author now. So it does have some credibility and it gives notoriety to the people. And then he's helping you build a life you want, which he's helped me build a life I want with some of his videos on productivity as well. And click down below for the Free Productivity Summit 2025, which is the link that it leads to. Now, we're not going to go into links today, but when you're building a profile, these links is essentially where you want to send people, whether it's for a consultation call or product you're selling or just a lead magnet. Now, next, as we scroll down the page, I want to say, and I will say, I agree with this a lot more, is that the first thing we're going to see are the pin posts and the rest of these posts. Now, some people might say it's the highlights, but personally, I think these massive images are going to be the first thing that pops up when you go on someone's profile or when somebody goes onto your profile. So for him, the top 3 pin posts are, these first 2 are a bit different from some of the other pages we're going to look at because it's not fully like on brand for a quote unquote professional page, like a professional type thing, but more so it shows the lifestyle behind who he is. So this is done in a way, it's like a couple's portrait, him holding the baby, I forgot what these things are called, but the x-ray kind of thing through the stomach to see the baby. And then the next one is a wedding shot, him and his wife, wedding shot, beautifully shot next to each other, up close portrait. And then on the right, it's him showing the book that he's the author of I think this is like a book promotion tour. You could see that it's lit from the top. So it's probably at the library that he was at when he was doing this. And it's just a portrait. Maybe it's even on like a 50 millimeter 1.8 or something, not completely edited to look a certain way. And all of this together just shows that he's more of a real person. So he's projecting and putting out the image that he's approachable, he's cool, he's someone to hang out with. Now, these are the pin posts. We'll go down and we'll look at the other 6 posts. Now, the first one, we'll see it's him drinking. Foreground has an image, a cactus tree, him in the middle, split in half right there. That's the framing we see. And then this is the technique that's really popular where in the next profile, or one of the next ones we'll see as well, there's Daniel who does that similar effect as well, where the person is in front and there's text behind. In a way, I think this is how to symbolize that you are with the in crowd right now, that you're doing this trend that just shows that you're still up to date and that you're keeping up with what's the style. So this is the style for his image here, giveaway behind him. Super easy to do. You separate out the subject and put the text behind the subject. Now, next to him is a photo of him, and I believe this is Hong Kong. Now, this photo is interesting because if you look at how it's composed, it's from the bottom shot up, so it makes these two look really grand. And then him, Sahil Bloom, is actually notable as well. So this is an image that shows credibility for him. Like, it establishes that he has friends and he's connected with somebody that is very notorious in the social media space or in the business space. So this one's actually him promoting his business. So moving on, we'll see him. This is a portrait of him in his studio, just a short. And then the next three, these are carousel posts. And he probably could have done all of these in one day too, like a sit down photo shoot. So the first one you'll see is him in front of the laptop, a bit of decor in the background, and it's just the first image towards a carousel. So for this one, it's very much similar to like when we're doing LinkedIn posts as well in one of my other videos, where you just have that one placeholder thumbnail type image, and it's him centered, and on the bottom here, it's how I focus for peak productivity. Now, the next one is a similar technique as well. It's a person in a portrait type shot with the background in the back a bit blurry as well. This could be done on a 50mm 1.8 as well. These are simple to do. You can even use portrait mode for these days. And this one's 5 habits to make next year your best year yet. And he's doing that same effect that he did up here on the giveaway as well. And then we'll move on to this next one. It's him sitting in bed holding the laptop. Makes the viewer curious on why he's in the bed with a laptop. Now, the way that he shot this one, I think he did it so that if he wanted to, he could frame it with something like this as well. So if he separates himself as a subject, he can have giveaway in the back as well. And if we zoom out, the overall colors of this is bright, saturated, and just like something that you would see out of a MacBook at the Apple Display Store. It's saturated, it's happy, it's full of just color, and it looks good. Now, I would say this one didn't have much editing to it, but it's fine. It's showing that it's establishing his credibility as a author. Now, we'll also go and look at the highlights. Now, for the highlights, it shows here, the first one, team, to show that he has a team that's working on all the stuff that he is putting out there. Next, there's some life notes, and this essentially gets you to this link right here to watch and see what he's pushing. And then finally, the next one is his book. He's promoting his book on here. So you could see it's a photo of him pointing to his book. And then there's live events that he's done. Now, live events are good because it establishes credibility for the person. Like, for example, there's him here sitting at a talk and with a couple people that he's met at these talks as well. Maybe I should do something like this. I think it'd be cool. And then the last one here is light mode, which is something that he's in a way kind of advertising. So he's going to launch this, and this is light mode. So as we take a peek of this, we can see that the image for the team is him and his, or not him, it's just his team. And then for life notes, it's him actually sitting down, writing these notes. The book, him pointing to the book. Live events are shots from the live events. And then light mode is the keyboard that he is promoting. And you can see all of these go together in the same aesthetic, similar fonts, fun, kind of bubbly with the curved edges. And the branding establishes him as a professional in his field. Now the next page, karocrafts. She's an artist. And I like her page a lot because it's very much in the style of a super modern, hip, like perfectly done page for someone that is up in the forefront of the creative community. So she's an artist and she's very big on TikTok, and her posts are also very well done where it connects with her audience in a way that's super authentic and genuine, and people genuinely really like the stuff that she puts out. So first thing we're going to talk about, we land and see her profile photo. It's a wink with a smiley face, one of her artworks. Next on her profile, we see the 4 lines, NYC artist and designer. This is a link to her studio, and this is her email, and then a link to her website and a link tree. Now we'll go in this discussion in the future. We'll talk about what links to put and how to optimize a profile on Instagram. So if you haven't already subscribe so you can get notified when I put that out. And then we're going to go down and look at the first 3 posts, her pinned post. Now, the first one, accident. This draws your attention, right? Like, what is the accident that is happening here? So here, it's actually her promoting one of the things that she is currently working on. So we're not going to go into it, but this is her promoting, and this is the shorts that's introducing you to it. And then just a quick note on how this is all composed. It's done on a minimalist background. So it's basically all white space, a tiny bit of ground on the bottom, her in the center, but you can see it utilizes the rule of thirds as well, because from the bottom to the top, or from the bottom to the top of her head is 2/3 of the way, and then accident covers up essentially the top 1/3 of the space. Now you could also divide this out too, where if you're looking at her going horizontally, she's about 1/3 of this horizontal line as well. Next, we have this one here. It says, "What does that look like?" And it's a video that shows her process, showing that she is doing her work, shows that she is actually an artist that can create the stuff that she says she's creating and the stuff that she's putting out. And it shows a bit of the behind the scenes. And if we look at the way that this is done, it's her, again, dead set in the center. There's kind of two elements on the side with the windows to sandwich her in and focus on her. And again, it's working on the rule of thirds with a bit of text on the top. Now, the text on the top is done so small and in a way that recently there's this trend of having small fonts to emphasize, I guess, luxury, because you have all the space, but all you need is a little bit of font and a little bit of text to communicate what you want to communicate. And so this brings the viewer into looking at what this video is, which is her process. And so this last one here on the last pin post is a graphic that she's done, and this shows how she gets the graphic made. So if we look at it, this is essentially her bread and butter, that she makes graphics, and it has her name here on a television, and it's also styled in the way that's very aesthetically pleasing. A couple things to note: the colorway, this blue, royal blue, is in a palette that is very much in line with what is trendy right now. Like, for example, that blue and this light right here, I know it doesn't look as saturated, but in real life it's a bit more saturated, that it's the same or fitting color palette as what this blue would go into. Now it's the same with this orange light that she has here, actually. And so there's that blue. There's a hint of a blue tone on the back, and then there's a light blue and a darker blue here as well. So she's having this blue toned graphic design here with the disco ball, which is a homage to the 1980s in the US, and also with the television that's probably from that time as well. I kind of remember growing up with stuff like this because I was from the early 90s, and relics from the late 80s were still around during that time. Now, if we scroll down a bit and look at the rest of her photos, this is her in her studio. It's kind of a faraway shot that establishes that there's a lot going on in this scene. This is her studio. This is essentially like if I were to do a shot where I'm standing maybe like 2 feet away from where I am right now, and then having a shot from this camera being placed further back that covers all the back here, which is my studio. And it's essentially to showcase the lifestyle that she is perpetuating in her Instagram, which is actually that she does her art. She's a real artist. She's in this studio, and this is the space that she works with, and it's all part of the brand. And you could also see, as you look into this image, that she has a different decor in this studio that is very much on brand with what an artist has, and especially an artist that is trendy with today's trends, such as with the light on top, which is, I believe, similar to the Herman Miller Noguchi stuff, Noguchi designs. And then on the bottom, there's these mid-century modern looking furniture, like the chairs, and this cool little toy right here. And with the, of course, the New York background or outside the window. Now, the next one over, we can see it's also very much a similar shot. It's a corner shot, like what I'm doing here as well. I'm kind of in the corner. I guess it's hard to tell, but in some other shots, you can see them sitting in the corner, and it's a very pleasing type of way to shoot. So you have the corner shot, she is in the center, and then on the top, you have the fonts that it's somehow been years. Now, the it's somehow been is very condensed. That is also very trendy. Condensed Helvetica, I want to say. And then years is a serif font. just to show that it's different from everything else and pull some attention to that with the 3 exclamation mark as well. And so you could also see the way that this is framed. Her all the way up to the top of where all the furniture is 2/3 of the way up. The other 1/3 is a bit empty, which is where you see it's somehow been years. And then on the bottom, if you look horizontally as well, she is about a third. She takes up about a third of the space from the horizontal side. Again, we see the blue that's matching with the color palette up there. And so also, if you just notice, if you take a step back and notice, there's a lot of white negative space with some pop, some hint of colors with the orange, with the blue, with the red right here. And on the next photo as well, you could see she's in front of a building that has white, black, and then just a hint or a splash of that blue that's on her sweater and jacket as well. Now, this is her and her friend, angled shot. I'm guessing this is maybe from an iPhone 0.5. The colors does look like it is from an iPhone and not like a SLR camera with colors all edited and everything. But the iPhone shots sometimes I think are good because it, in a way, it subconsciously taps into people's like real filters. Like if we see an iPhone photo, we feel like it's more authentic than with a full-on camera setup. Now, this next one is a flat lay looking photo, not completely flat lay, but an overhead shot down her with all her stuff splayed out on the table. And it shows all the different tools and stuff that she uses for her trade. And the shot afterwards as well, very similar. It's an up to bottom shot of the hand, the book that she is promoting. And you can notice that there's use of triangles in this image a lot. Like there's a lot of use of triangles in here, which is an aesthetically pleasing element when you're shooting photos. So triangle here, all the corners are creating triangles, more triangles, another triangle here. So she's using as many triangles as she can to have this pleasing element and to showcase this book. And then this last one here is a similar style to what you see here. There's a subject in the center, which is that art piece. And then there's things on the side, such as those 2 columns that are focusing into the subject in the middle. Now, if you zoom out a little bit and look at this feed, you can see that there's 3 things that she actually covers, which is that there's a medium shot, which is not completely zoomed in as compared to this zoomed in shot, this up close shots, these 2 up close shots. And then there's some far away shots like this one from far away looking at her studio, this one far away as well. And then these 2 are the medium shots. Now this is the up close shot. And moving on, we'll go to her highlights, which the first part of her highlights, well, before we go into it, you notice that all of these highlights is in a similar theme to her profile photo. So it's a black on white image with a white background. So we'll jump into the first one, which is craft. It shows her craft. This is the work that she does. This is her imagery. And then the next one is love. And the love section here is to highlight just giving back love to the community, things she supports and movement she supports, stores she supports, things like that. And then show, this is to showcase. This is kind of like the last profile that we looked at with aliabdaal. She's showing, like, establishing credibility by showcasing the public works that she's been involved in and maybe shows that she's going to. And then finally, the shop. This is her showcasing the shop that she has because she does sell some art, some frames with printed work and clothing drops and whatnot, which you'll see in her shorts as well. But we'll cover that in another video. Next, we got danieldalen, who is a young CEO in his 20s. He just popped up massively on social media. And his whole brand kind of portrays the lifestyle, the behind the scenes of what it's like to run a multi-million-dollar business. So on his page, I think it more so portrays the lifestyle aspect versus some of the other ones. So first things first, his profile photo, just an orange orb to pop out and just to separate himself from everybody else, which I think is fine. He has kind of a cult following, so I think it makes sense for him. Tụi bạn Nam hơi học Trung Mạnh because he lives in Hong Kong as well. And then that is why he has all this Chinese here. And then for his post, he doesn't have pin posts, but it's more of these lifestyle posts. So let's break down these lifestyle posts a bit so you can see what it's about. Now, this first one is a flash lifestyle post. This really doesn't matter how it's really composed because the effect of it is really what is the important part. So it's probably shot from a handy cam, something like this, one of these cameras. It's been super trendy. And it gives this aesthetic that people just love on social media these days. Next, you have something similar as well. It's him and his buddy. They're just laughing. But if you look at this image, there's this grandeur of where they're at because they're sitting with glasses of wine, they're hanging out, they're having a good time. This is what it's like to be a CEO. Also, I believe they might have a similar light to what I have in the back over there. And then the next one is a similar kind of picture as well. It's from a digicam and it has the flash kind of look to it. And so from the first three that's lined up, you can see that these are behind the scenes kinds of photos. It's done on that digicam for that raw look that is so popular and trendy these days. And this one is portraying him working on his laptop, fully tapped in, headphones in and everything, with a Samsung Extreme SSD as well, which is what I'm using when I save these videos that you guys see. And then this one is just a casual photo, iPhone selfie, him and a family member probably. And then this another behind the scenes. Now with this one as well, it's to showcase the lifestyle that he's living at. This shows that he is in kind of this like upscale restaurant. They're sitting there, they're working. This is what CEO life is about. And you could see that the theme on this page is a lot of this is what CEO life is about. And it's more so of like this digicam type shot instead of the more planned out, like this type of framing, this type of look. This is more of a raw behind the scenes. Now he does have that planned out, framed well photograph, which is this one. And it does have the rule of thirds where you can see from the bottom to the top of the building, 2/3 of the way. And then the last 1/3 is the sky. And it's also framing this center laptop in the center. This effect is called leading lines. So leading lines, leading everything towards this center place where the magnificent laptop is. And this is where he is running his business from, that laptop, which is also kind of showcasing that laptop lifestyle where since he's an entrepreneur CEO, he can live anywhere, work anywhere he wants. Now, this one here is him setting up the camera. Okay, so this is the his videos are well known for these shots that are above, shot down, and this is just him setting up that shot. So it's also flexing that he is well in shape and he exercises because this is showing that he's fit. And again, it's that digicam shot with the flash. And these last two are similarly in that same vein as well. Now, on this one, the one in the center, it does look like he's at a public event. Maybe this is somewhere he spoke at, and this is people that he's working with. I don't exactly know these people, but it's similar to the other profiles that we looked at where they're establishing that they have a reputation with friends and that they're actually doing something that is public facing. Maybe they're giving a talk, maybe they're giving a workshop or something that people actually are going to. And this one here is just a aesthetically pleasing lifestyle photo compared to everything else. It's nice to see something like this because it's actually really fun and refreshing. So this one and the one of him and his, I'm guessing a niece or a daughter of a family friend or something, is these are refreshing to have in between all the other photos that he has to showcase the professional side of what he does. So 3 professional photos, 1 casual one, maybe another 3, 4 professional photos here, and then a casual one that really doesn't have a reason to be here, but it's just there to have a fun thing to have. Because if you look at the other ones, there are specific reasons on why these photos are chosen to be here, to be the start of these carousels that he has. Because these aren't just individual photos. These are like carousels of more stories to tell behind it. And so we can go up and look at his highlights as well. He only has 1, join my team. So this is where I guess you DM him intern, and then he will guide you through a funnel to be one of his interns. Now, I haven't went down his funnel yet, so I can't say what that is, but that's what the highlights link to. And the photo of it is him with a question box here. It's like somebody asked a question and that he's responding to it. And this is his Instagram profile. It's pretty basic where he doesn't push people to so many things because right now his branding is in a way more mysterious because his bread and butter is the YouTube channel that shows the behind the scenes of the entrepreneurial lifestyle. So once in a while, he might drop something like here on a story post. He has some Hong Kong stuff behind the scenes in Hong Kong. And sometimes he shows people that he's working with. So like this, for example, he's hiring a new account manager at this place. And other times it would just show like he's launching this with somebody else and this is a link for it here. So his page is still pretty mysterious, but if you want to draw some inspiration from it, there's a lot of showcasing the lifestyle behind the scenes, using that raw digicam and being casual when needed. Now, we'll go on to Chris Williamson, and Chris has a more put together professional front-facing page because he is the most public figure out of all the accounts that we just looked at. And so he's many things, but now essentially I would say that he's mostly a podcaster. If you just do a scroll on his page, it's a lot of guests that he has on for his podcast. So let's go and look at his description. Actually, I guess it says podcaster right away. So podcaster, writer, aspiring trophy husband. So it shows what he does and it adds in a comical side to show that like, hey, he's actually a real person as well. And the profile photo here, him with the light blue background. I don't know why he chose this light blue background, but I'm guessing it's just to stick out from everything else. Same with this book section here on his highlights. So this highlight section essentially just leads to a lead magnet because if you want to know some of the books that he's reading, then you could click the link there and then it'll go to a page where you sign up by giving him your email and then he'll send you a list of books. So if we scroll down and we look at the stuff that he has here, just a quick impression on his page is that if you look at it, there's some text posts, there's some Twitter type stuff, and then there's a lot of just guests. So just guests that he has on his podcast, which makes sense because he is a podcaster. And then if we look at the first three, now these are screen captures from some of his podcasts and interviews that he's done. And if you look at the words, the branding of it, first of all, it's a sans serif bold font with a bit of an outline so that it sticks out in the image. And what is said on here is something that just pulls your intrigue. So the first one says, unalived girl. Second one says, male depression. Third one says, if I kiss you. So all of these are so weird and out the box that you're pretty much interested to see what this is. Like, if I kiss you, what does that mean? Or male depression, because he looks like he's fit, he's handsome, he's got his life together, right? So what is male depression? So you click on that and you're checking that out as well. And then this one, well, he unalived a girl. What does unalive a girl mean? So definitely got to see that, right? Like, why is this on the pin post? So if we look down a bit more, there's also clips of other things that he's done. Like this was a behind the scenes, and this was a behind the scenes as well. And he only really has one that is an image of him holding, I guess, food. And this image is, I think, at the studio that he's interviewing people at. And the rest of it are behind the scenes of his interviews. So if you are somebody that's a public-facing person that does podcasts, having snippets from your podcast and interviews as your post on your page is a good idea. And you could also utilize the text, the subtitles in these videos to draw attention to the post itself. So this one here, it says how you look. It shows him standing there. He's a model as well. So it's kind of ties into that. So you see that, you're interested, you're like, oh, what do you mean how you look? And then you keep looking and keep watching that video. Now, these are some carousel posts as well. Reverse charisma, and how do you say non-binary in Spanish? Now, these are also posts that want you or evoke this sort of reaction in you that make you want to check out what this is. Like, how do you say non-binary in Spanish? Is non-binary a thing in the Spanish culture? So you click on this and because you're curious, so you want to see what else is on here. And same with this one up here. It has a shocking type of title and a bit of information on it, and then it gives you this type of pull or a hook to get you to click and read the rest of these posts. Now, these style posts are also very popular where they just find quotes and share that quote. And so also I want to mention this one here. This framing, this style is actually a very popular style of making videos these days. So having this on his page really just shows that he is one with everybody else. Now, I know Chris is a bit older than me, so he's like mid-millennial, where I'm like a younger millennial. He's more of a mid-millennial. So this is done in a way that is very hip with it in the editing style that is fitting with TikTok and Gen Z and a younger audience. So having that on here establishes himself as still somebody that is up to date and not someone that's completely like a different generation. Now, moving on from Chris, we have Kest Yoga. Now, if we scroll down on Kest Yoga, this is actually what I would say is more of a millennial branding because it's so polished and everything is thought about. The shots are edited and the color theme is all completely fitting. Whereas like if we looked at Daniel Dalen's page, it's more of the overall theme instead of the color aesthetic theme. Now, of course, this has an overall theme as well, but there's a strong focus on the colors being the same and it looking completely polished. So let's go and take a look at this real quick. His profile photo, him looking into the distance, doing a type of prayer looking thing. I don't know what this is called, but like a prayer. And then here on his profile, it says Nike yoga teacher. So I became familiar with this page because a friend of mine did a collaboration with him when he went to San Diego, which is in Southern California, if you didn't know. And that's where I came across his page. And so from his bio, it shows that he's a yoga teacher affiliated with Nike. And then if you want to do yoga teacher trainings, there's a page for that. And then you can take his classes on the Nike app. Now, this is the link that he has. And it's essentially like a link tree that shows events that he's doing, things that he's involved in, but with a bit more imagery to it. Now, let's break down some of his shots really quick. So the first one, the pinned one, are these first two pinned posts. This first one here, stay in the light, composed beautifully. This is the fundamental shot that's like millennials love this. It's like having that epic shot. So this is the epic shot. Stay in the light. The top is shining down on him. This is a beautiful shot. I gotta admit, this is a very beautiful shot as well. So he has that. The colorway is in that brown tone that is in all or just most of the photos that he has here. Now the second one as well, it's showing him in a pose on a very high building. I'm guessing in India or something like that. And it is just him going through a flow, sharing his story. And so it also showcases that he can do these magnificent movements and vinyasas in his yoga. And now this next one here is a product shot as well. I would guess this is a sponsored post for this brand right here. And so it shows a couple things. First, the framing is this is in the foreground, the bag. Middle ground has him using the grinding machine, and then that's him in the back. Going down, we see a couple shots of him going through his different yoga poses. Now, these show how it's done, teaches people yoga, because his page shows a lot of yoga stuff. So this is also to teach the yoga, this as well, and also this as well. And the theme that we can notice is that a lot of these are actually shot with an iPhone because you could tell from the colors as well. But one thing to note is that the colors that he's using here, where the green and this brown is in a matching color template. So he's in places, or he's at least utilizing an environment that matches with the color palette that he has. So there's those three, which are pretty casual actually. And then there's this one that's 3 lessons learned in India. This is kind of like when we looked at aliabdaal's page and it was the carousel that leads into other types of posts where you would go and read the story. So this is him standing on the bottom there, and then there's the text in the empty negative space. So 3 lessons learned in India is where there is just a blank kind of background area that is the sky, and then all the clutter, all the the subject matter is on the bottom half of this image. And overall, it's a very beautiful photo as well. And so outside of these that show yoga, there's this last one that also shows yoga as well, but it is more of a aesthetically pleasing type of video that gets people to feel a certain way, to be excited about it, because it's very cinematic versus some of these other ones where it's just like people doing yoga and showing yoga. And these are the ones of him just teaching people how to practice flows and whatnot. Like this is all to practice flows. And so the takeaway with his page is that there's a theme of showing yoga as one of the common things that are on the feed. And then the thumbnail photos all kind of match that theme of being in a place. Maybe it's a tropical place with that warmish tint tone to it. And there's a lot of these images where it's kind of far away. It's not super close-up shots. It's just him centered in the middle, which again, it's like that same usage of small text font instead of very big, bold letters. Instead of the text this time, it's him as the subject. And on the carousel post, he does have the big text font, just like aliabdaal did. And he did include some lifestyle, but yoga type thumbnails for the ones where he is teaching yoga. So if we go up, this is where his business acumen comes into play as well. So if you look at his highlights, these are actually very optimized for revenue and for bringing in new customers down his funnel. So the first one is tools, which shows the tool that he uses for yoga, which is this thing. And then the next, there's some travel, lifestyle stuff. And then the next one after that is also another tool that he has, which is a towel. And you could actually pre-order here if you want. And then some more travel and lifestyle stuff to establish this reputation that he's been here and there and that he's a travel person. And then there's this Nike billboard, which is cool because it showcases like, hey, I'm official. I'm on a billboard. And I know how that feels. It's like when I had my class on American Airlines, just having that out there in some public facing place is something that you're very proud of. And it's cool to build and have that reputation as well. And also when I designed a billboard, I took some photos in front of the billboards that I designed as well. And my whole marketing team, we all went to take those photos as well. So that was pretty fun as well, just to see stuff that you've worked on be out in this huge public display. And so if you look at the rest of these are more travel. And then finally, it shows his story. So if you're really curious, you would scroll all the way down on his highlights, and then you would see his story, which shows everything that he's gone through and what built him to be who he is. And there's apps to make this type of look. And I would say this is very millennial-ish. And you could see that, it's posted 300 weeks ago. So that's about the time where Instagram started to change from being this super polished platform to being something that is more what it is today. That's it for today. Make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.